All right, welcome back. Yes, we are diving straight into our next conversation on the show, which will revolve around the political process that we had just experienced, or probably just gone through. INEC had come to announce that certificates of returns will be issued to the governorship or governor-select and members of state houses of assembly elect on Wednesday and Thursday this week. This is coming as the chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, did also deny a few conversations that did showed up on the conversation. Yes, so we're being joined right about now from our Port Harcourt studios to do justice to this conversation. Abuja studio, yes, we have, okay, I need to get this name right now. Obinna Amako, yes, Barrister Obinna Amako is a business consultant and also a legal advisor. Joining us this morning to look at this conversation and the many concerns that this could have raised. Barrister Obinna, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Good morning.
It's so good to have you in our Abuja studios. Fantastic. Yes, INEC would issue certificate of returns to governors-elect and as well as members of State House of Assembly elect. I don't know if this for you raises any concern.
I'm sorry, please, could you come again?
Okay, I did say that INEC has said they will be issuing certificates of return to governors-elect and also state members of Assembly elect on Wednesday and Thursday. Does this come with any concern for you, considering all the controversy that could have, surrounded the electionary process? Does this come with any concern for you?
Yes, actually, I wouldn't say just for me, but likewise for Nigerians as a whole. Having understood that with the whole tension going on right now in the country, individuals went out, casted their votes, did their parts. They all complained about the different violence and all that transpired during the elections. And at this point in time, it's already been placed before the court for them to hear the matter and give a final say on who exactly would have or would be said to have won the elections. But if you take your time to also look through the Constitution, yes, we've all spoken at length about the electoral law that was passed last year. But if you also take your time to look for maybe a part of the Constitution stipulating grounds for which the certificate of return would not hold, you actually discover that there actually isn't any provision made for that, which now brings us back to the issue about restructuring. You understand? So in such situations, even if there are no rules or there's nothing stipulated for it, I think it's more befitting for the court to actually have its own say, take its time. If you also take your time to go back as 2013, you will see that even the court spoke about INEC not having the grounds nor the statutory power to revoke the certificate of return after swearing in a candidate. So this is where the problem is now. What exactly are Nigerians going to expect after the president-elect has been sworn in without the court having to give its own final take? I don't know if I'm passing a sufficient point right there. So it's enough ground for everybody to be worried. Nobody wants a situation where everyone's confused, nobody knows it's left from the right now. That's literally the situation right now in Nigeria. So we need I would really advise, I would be opined to suggest that INEC takes its time. We can't even say, okay, we want to restructure the constitution now and give a law. That would be very, very retroactive. So but we need to take our time, because right now we need to make sure we have a direction at which we're headed at.
All right. Barrister Obinna, taking our time is not even given a chance under the Constitution. Let's go to the Electoral Act 2022. Let's take a look at Section 72, subsection 1, which actually says that the Electoral Act, that's 2022, I beg your pardon, the Commission, that's INEC, is mandated to issue a certificate of return within 14 days to every candidate who has been returned elected under the law. And so the governorship election held on March 18, and this morning already we are on May 20, why am I saying May? March 27 at this point in time. So are you then on the side of, for instance, of the argument which came from the main opposition party, one of the main opposition parties, PDP, that INEC shouldn't even consider comparing what is on the IRF to what they have right now before the issuance of the certificates of return to the members, let me say elected members across the states of the Federation, which will include the governors-elect and members-elect of the State House of Assembly. Are you on that side of the story, or you want to chart another course?
Okay, I'm glad you brought up section 70 with which you spoke about right now. It says when there has been a duly elected president. I'm not clamoring for any political party. I'm just speaking about justice, fairness, everything being done smoothly. There is no election that's perfect, as we have actually heard everybody say, which is true. There will be people who are not comfortable, who feel disdained, feel some type of way about how things might have panned out. But let's get that clause. You see, when we're interpreting and understanding laws, there are rules to it. The mischief rule, the literal rule, the golden rule. There are different rules to it. And if you take the literal rule, understanding the law as it is written, a duly elected president. I'm not trying to sympathize with any political party or any candidate.
Obinna,
to follow what the law says.
If you can hear me. Obinna, if you can hear me, one moment, please. If you can hear me. We're not referring to the president now. We're talking about elected officers across the states. So the president already has his own, situation settled, but we're talking about state governors-elect, and members-elect of the State Houses of Assembly. So this is a peculiar one, which is supposed to take place, that's tomorrow, Tuesday, and as well as Wednesday, where INEC has given directive that the resident electoral commissioners should issue the certificates of returns. So it's more like about states and not the federal level.
But the thing is, any of these individuals that won their elections, do they have anything outstanding with the court? Have they been challenged? If there are situations where any of these individuals have been challenged as a result of the outcome of the elections, then I think everybody should wait till the court of competent jurisdiction has a say on it. I'm technically just trying to say that, as the law has been written, duly elected, because that's what I was trying to round up on, duly elected. If you don't have anything with the courts, with regards to you being maybe petitioned or someone firing at it and whatsoever, then I think they should be issued their return certificates. Sorry, but in situations where you still have an outstanding in court, I think that should be actually faced first before any certificate is actually handed over to anybody. That's my take on it.
Barrister Obinna, you keep talking about the word due. You keep hammering on the word duly elected. It's a function of interpretation. If you ask me, you might have your interpretation of what duly elected means, and I'm sure other Nigerians could also have their interpretation of what duly elected means. But in the context of this conversation, how do you want to describe the word duly elected?
Okay, when we talk about duly elected, that means, just like in a criminal case, you say beyond every reasonable doubt. The Constitution, the Electoral Act also speaks about having 1/4 of the 2/3 of the 36 states and the FCT. I believe that is one amongst so many other conversations and reason for questions have been brought out to the social space and the political space. So when you're talking about duly means you have defeated every atom of possible doubt. So there is no reason for you to even be in court trying to be summoned or petitioned for whatsoever reason. You have justified everything. Even your people, the people that of which you contested against have actually understood and seen that, okay, yes, we don't have any reason to question the outcome of the elections. The court has said what it has to say. That I think that person is duly elected, because we're talking about the people. Everyone has his or her own opinion. Everyone has his or her own space. So the thing is, everybody's opinion must be put to rest with the final outcome, and everyone having seen, whether you like it or not, their final outcome being fine by you. But the thing is, it has been said that this is what it is. This is the interpretation. This is what we are following. This is what happened, and this is what we're saying about it. Then we go ahead. My own point on this duly elected is there should be nothing causing any further questions or doubts in the process or to the outcome.
We've been speaking with Barrister Obinna Amako. He's a business consultant and a legal advisor at Cozans Nigeria Limited. He's joining us from our Abuja studio. We're looking at the post elections for 2023 with greater emphasis on INEC's announcement that come Wednesday, Thursday, they will be issuing certificate of return to governors-elect as well as members of the Houses of Assembly elect. Yes, Barrister Obinna, so good to know you're still there. Welcome back. Welcome back. Before we went on that
Thank
break, you were trying to interpret for me what duly elected really means for you. And I did tell you there's a function of interpretation because you and I are aware an election did hold, yes. Results were announced, yes. And winners were equally announced as well, given to the election. For some people, that is those are duly elected individuals, given to the fact that they went through a process of election. However, let's rest it there. Like I did say, it's a function of interpretation. I'll take you back to when you talked about the Electoral Act and the things that needs to be done. Some people will say that can't we have a provision in the Electoral Act that will stipulate that rather than giving INEC this short timelines to make certain decisions and pronouncements, shouldn't we be looking at reviewing the Electoral Act to say that every concern raised during the elections must be addressed before announcements are made by INEC? Shouldn't that be a concern that we should be looking at going forward?
Okay, that's a very strong point and a good perspective, but laws cannot be retroactive. You can't just wake up one morning and you want to change those laws right now. But the question is not about moving forward. You talk about moving forward when you have solved the problem at hand, if I'm making a point. So at this point in time, everyone had hopes. Everyone had their own, what they anticipated, what they were looking forward to for the elections. And whether it's clear as day that a whole lot of people are not comfortable with the way things panned. Some people might be, but most aren't. Now, if you want to look at adjusting the Electoral Act, there is no constitution, there is no law in the world that isn't prone to being amended. That's a fact. But I am of the opinion that this amendment can come after the whole issue at hand is being solved. You understand? Once, take for example right now, because everyone and nobody can say they didn't see what happened in Lagos, in even the FCT, everywhere, Imo State, name it. Everybody experienced, even in Port Harcourt, everybody experienced one reason, one way or another, why they feel the electoral process wasn't free and fair. But as I said earlier, there is no election that's going to be the best in a space where Nigeria is a country of which is just growing, it's evolving, it's getting better. Take it or leave it, we're going to have these stumbling blocks. But the main and the most important thing is Nigerians have clamored, Nigerians have complained. What is INEC going to do about it? Do you understand? We don't want a situation where a decision is passed and everybody is still... No, we don't want violence. We don't want issues. We don't want nothing, because in a space where there is nobody to govern, then there is no need for the electoral process in the first place before we even talk about amending it later. So we need to first of all handle what is on ground first. Then moving forward, you look at everything that's transpired. Then you also have to even start thinking way ahead. Okay, this is what happened. Tomorrow morning, what do we think or what do we foresee could happen in the next elections that will happen maybe 4 years from now? What do you think, after we have adjusted this, what could possibly pop up from that one? So we can't start thinking futuristically when there is still fire on the ground right now. No, we need to address what needs to be addressed first. It's an issue about priority. The future would be handled, but we have to look at what is going on right now.
Now let's take a side of a political party that came out to express their reservations with the announcement, in fact, the directive of INEC to the resident electoral commissioners to issue state elected officers their certificates of return from Wednesday through Thursday to Friday. Let's take this report as being put together.
But we want to express concern that from an unsigned document which we gathered INEC had forwarded to the state's resident electoral commissioners and the FCT resident electoral commissioner, they are trying to alter the usual procedure. INEC, in the procedure issued, which they know is not the right thing, and so they decide not to sign it, is asking the state resident electoral commissioners and the resident electoral commissioner in the FCT to first of all confer with Abuja to be sure that whatever they are going to issue as CTC confirm with what is on the IREV. And you know we have issues with the upload of the presidential election results, the delays, the manipulation which we have suspected and have clearly pointed out. And so if you are now directing the resident electoral commissioners to first of all cross-check with what you have on the IREV before they can issue their CTC, your guess is as good as mine.
I'm sure you heard Barrister Obinna, if you're there, and of course our viewers, if you got the of Ms. Hani Agutu, the reservations that PDP has with regards to the directive given to resident electoral commissioner to issue certificates of returns to elected members across the state. He says, look, if you give this directive and it goes on, it will mean that it will be detrimental to the cases being pushed by the PDP, since the party was already disputing the contents of the IREF data. So if you look at this particular argument as a lawyer, as against what the law stipulates as to the time frame where such certificates are supposed to be issued, maybe INEC needs to take some discretional, steps to make sure that things work. So this may take you back to what you said in your opening remarks, but with this one, where a political party has come out to really express their reservations, what would be your view?
Okay, let's be open-minded here. The Constitution, the Electoral Act, stipulates the rules for which and how the whole process from the beginning of the registration of every individual participating in the election, the contestants likewise. If you also, people who have been clamoring and asking questions about this particular space, look at the Constitution. It gave INEC its powers, and it specifically pointed out that INEC would have to run the elections with its guidelines. That's one part of it. Now, looking at the guidelines that INEC put out there, INEC assured Nigerians that the elections will be transmitted electronically. Now, at the end of the day, most spaces, most polling units, most states were not privileged to have this facility. Now, I would be opined to say that was already a breach against INEC, because they made an assurance. They came out and they told Nigerians, we are going to do this, and at the end of the day, they didn't. Now, during the whole time of the whole election, the whole day, counting, everything being done, we didn't see anything posted on the portal. Then all of a sudden, everything starts popping up. And individuals were told that after you finish counting, the polling unit, it's going to be uploaded, everyone signs, and then you take the same materials to the collation center. Now, that already gives a breach and a question to say, okay, what and how? Where did these results come from? Why is this like this? This is not expected, because at the end of the day, you already breached your own side of the promise. You said you were going to do it at the polling unit, and all of a sudden we didn't see you do it, and now we are seeing a result. And most people are saying that it is contradictory with what they actually counted at the polling units. So right now, even if INEC uploaded a very, very accurate result, there's already a space for reasonable doubt, for contention. You understand? Now, even that contention happening, no matter how much, if INEC decides to say, okay, no, we're standing on our ground, this is this, this is that, no matter how many times myself or any other person comes out to say, hey, we don't agree, we don't do this, it's not going to hold water. You have to take it to court. That's my own ground. I wouldn't say, oh no, don't issue any certificate. I would not say that just like that. I would want to explain why I would come to any conclusion I may suggest here. First of all, the parties have to just take it to court. Follow the due process. Everybody must follow the process. If we are chastising INEC or standing against INEC for a process and for their promise and they breached it, we should do better. We ought to follow the process and then take it to court. Now, the issuance of certificates for return, I would suggest, because right now I feel I may be in a space of suggestion. Why? Because there is no provision that stipulates in situation of this, in this kind of situation where there is a contention in court and whatsoever. Because what we've been doing since is, regardless of what is in court, the person is still sworn into seat, or the person is still given that privilege to go in and start work and commence his own appointment. That's what's been happening. But at the end of the day, how favorable is this? Is it fair on the person of whom got up and contested, and he feels maybe he's been cheated? And someone will say, oh, it's not fair for the person that also has been declared or said to have won the particular election. So, but if the person of whom has been said to have won the election can wait as long as he waited to have contested, to have campaigned, and to have done everything, I'm sure he can wait and also respect the process that would swear him into power. Whatever seat, maybe state, House of Assembly, House of Rep, whatsoever position you may occupy or you may have been said to be appointed to occupy, I'm sure you can respect, or you should respect, the due process. Wait, and then let the whole air be cleared. Let the court have its say. Let everything be done beyond every reasonable doubt that yes, you have won. It is after that individuals still persist and refuse, then that person that has been refused to be sworn in can actually say, no, it's enough, and it's enough, I've won. And the federal government actually, and even the judiciary and the legislative can even stand behind you and say, no, the process has been done, we've embarked on what should be done, and please, he should be sworn in. Very simple. That's my take on it.
The Electoral Act is a document, a working document that directs the activities of INEC. Timeliness, it gives them directive on when and how what should be done. And there is a time limit to every of INEC's activities as stipulated by the Electoral Act. Do you think this should be revisited? For me, I think there are quite a number of concerns that have been raised given to this whole election challenges, process challenges. You talked about the Electoral Act and the transmission of results electronically, and the guidelines of INEC. All of these are concerns that have also been raised because the Electoral Act, as interpreted by the law, does not stipulate that INEC must transmit electronically. That is the interpretation that we got from the court a few days back. So let's begin to look at all of this. Do you think, what for you should the Electoral Act specifically address if we must get this whole thing right? Because INEC is bound to issue certificate of return within a specific time limit, which that's what INEC is bound to do. So I don't know where we can go from here. INEC can't do otherwise at this point in time.
Okay, I like this question. Look, INEC, by looking at the Electoral Act, we're not recommended, or rather, are not what's the right word? They're not supposed to, or it was not stated there in the Electoral Act that they're supposed to transmit the results electronically. But if you look at the 1999 Constitution, it states that INEC would run the elections in accordance with the Electoral Act and with the stipulated guidelines by INEC. With the stipulated guidelines, that's the clause. Now, if that clause wasn't there, then we would say, okay, no, you're not supposed to transmit any result electronically. No, the stipulated guidelines by INEC, not by the judiciary, not by the executives. And the same INEC came out and said they would run it electronically. Now, I recall the chairman of INEC actually saying that he was questioned in an interview and asked, oh, people are saying that you are not being honest with Nigerians, that you are not going to transmit the elections electronically. And he threw that out. He said, no, I never, if I say I'm going to do something, if INEC says they're going to do something, they're going to do it. So at that point, he actually, gave Nigerians a reassurance that would happen. You understand? He assured Nigerians that would happen. So I'm not even going to sit here and talk from a sentimental perspective. I'd rather speak with facts. He came out and assured Nigerians. The law, the Constitution says the guidelines. And if you look at the guidelines, it's there. It's clearly, it's clear as day that he said it will be run and transmitted electronically. So before we move forward, this part must be satisfied. Now, people have been saying more like a re-election, and a re-election. That could be on the table, but the question is, can we pull that off? So there's so many perspectives to look at this thing from. The main thing is Nigerians were made a promise by INEC and they failed to uphold the promise. So whether or not this, even if it was the PDP that won the elections, even if it was SDP that won the elections, whatever political party won the elections, this same question will still come out and say, you assured us online transmission. You didn't give us the online transmission.
All right.
Why so?
Obinna, I will come back to wrap up with you in just a moment. You're still watching News Hub, and we're taking a look at the directive issued by INEC to the resident electoral commissioners across the state to issue certificates of return to governors-elect, deputy governors-elect, and other members of the state, members-elect of the state houses of assembly. We'll be back in just a moment. Do stay with us. All right, we're still taking a look at what the election for the year 2023 has brought upon the people and especially the stakeholders, which will include you and I, and the way forward in ensuring that the entire electoral process really culminates into what Nigerians would love even after May 29. We're wrapping up with you at this point in time. That's Barrister Obinna Amaku, business consultant and legal advisor at Corzons Nigeria Limited. So let's just have a wrap up from you as to what the electoral process in the year 2023 has brought to you as a Nigerian, as the experience you've had, and what you're expecting before May 29, when the new, elected officers across the country should be sworn in.
Well, I speak for myself, and I'm sure other Nigerians out there would have their own opinion on how they felt, but the question's about myself. So basically, I really expected more from the electoral process. I was very hopeful. I'm a Nigerian. No matter where we go to, no matter where I go to, no matter where anyone goes to, so far you're birthed here, you're a Nigerian. So we're obligated to still pray and hope, and not just be about the negative, but just, hope for Nigerians. And I really, hoped that this whole electoral transmission electronically was going to really help us. And it's so sad when I also, saw the different issues, individuals resorting to violence, snatching of ballot boxes. But if I may, I would really want to point this out, that I think Nigeria has gone beyond the space of ballot boxes. So, your colleague there asked the question, what do we have to adjust futuristically? We need to look at the issues of ballot boxes. And I really hoped that that issue was going to be, adhered to or looked at, because over the years we've been seeing ballot boxes being snatched. The question is, what have we done about it long term? And when I was really disappointed when I saw that we had still resorted back to ballot boxes, and I was really disappointed. It's really saddening that Nigeria is where she is right now, but nevertheless, we as Nigerians have our own responsibilities. It doesn't just start and end with INEC. It starts from us at home. What we teach our kids, what we discuss as Nigerians, as friends, the decisions we make even on the traffic lights. We can't sit down here and just point at only INEC. No, INEC is one side of Nigeria. We are also another side of Nigeria, and INEC is in us. We make INEC. We are the people. So we need to step up and do what we need to do as individuals. And the outcome will be the outcome, definitely, but we have to do our part. So as for the election on its own, I was flabbergasted with disappointment. I will be very honest, because the decorum at which everybody comes out and says leaders, leaders, leaders. I dare say it's not the leaders. I challenge every Nigerian on the street. We are actually our own problem. So I wouldn't even want to sit down here and flood the electoral process on its own. I would take this opportunity to speak to Nigerians. We need to start the change with ourselves. The electoral process would go on. We are the ones that decided to sit down and we voted for the people that will sit down and represent us. We are the ones that will still do everything. So they don't just fall from heaven. They go through a process in growth. Yeah. So we have our own responsibility to it. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you so very much, Barrister Obin Marko, a business consultant and legal advisor at Cozans Nigeria Limited. Thank you for your time and thought with us on this segment of the show. Do have a great day.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.